Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast brought to you by Higher Echelon and Joe Ross. Higher Echelon is a company that Joe Ross runs. He's a former Army fullback, former Army assistant, former Army officer, and also a guest on the Black Knight Nation podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. There's a press conference video from Jimmy Charlo and Connor Finucane on our YouTube channel right now. Got to throw up a Jeff Monken one. It'll be Seth Mendelson's questions on there. We'll do a YouTube short up there soon, but let's welcome in Seth Mendelson and Steve Anderson to the podcast. We're going to review a 62-0 loss by Army at number 19 LSU. And it's a lot of stuff that we talked about last week again when they faced Troy on the offensive side. The defensive side was up against probably the best offense that's Army faced in a long, long time, probably since Kyler Murray and Oklahoma in 2018. But let's get Steve Anderson's thoughts on the game, just general thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I a lot of buddies at the game, and it's clear that the SEC is just built different through and through. I'm not a very subjective football viewer, obviously, when I watch the Black Knights, but I continuously say a 6-6 SEC West team can win most conferences in college football any given year. Your Arkansas, your Ole Misses, you put them in a different conference, and they could have a chance at winning any conference across. So the SEC is built different, and you could see the difference in capabilities across the board. The best part was I didn't see any quit. I did not see anybody taking plays off. Obviously there were some heads down throughout the game, but not permanent. There was never a quit. And as we look at what the future holds for these players, that can never be an acceptable action, especially leading the sons and daughters of America. So that was promising. 62-0. Definitely thought I had it closer. I had us at least covering 32.5, and I took the under at 59.5. So both of those did not happen. So that was not good. And but
with your heart, Steve, with your heart, man.
Yeah, I mean, Army. Look, Army's had a great history playing against in these big games. I know this year's a little different. Lot of variables this year. So I know you can't look at it as when they faced Kyler Murray or when they went to Michigan and played at Michigan and could have had a chance to win both those games. So I know it's not that same team, that same offense, same defense, whatever. But there was no reason to think that it was going to be 62-0, in my opinion. I know we just got shot out at Troy. I mean, 8-quarter. I mean, Sal, you're the stat guy. When's the last time Army went two games in a row shutout?
Seth?
2003. We 0-13 year, South Florida and TCU. One game at home, one game on the road.
Yeah, so, I mean, doesn't happen very often. Everybody knows stats are meant to be broken or repeated or whatever you want to look at it. But I think the biggest takeaway is we were outmatched physically, and the players didn't quit. And I think it was known right away that those players were a different kind of athletes that they've seen. It did not keep us from competing each and every game. I see Aaron Scott. What you got, Aaron? Difference in offense and clock control is a gigantic fact. 100%. Yeah. Games like that where we can kind of control the clock and be in short distances helps us in those types of games. And just wasn't there. And, just big hurt in the Army Football Brotherhood for sure.
Yeah, real quick before we go to Seth, it was Champ Harris's first start. a freshman getting thrown, a true freshman, never went to prep school, getting thrown into his, I guess, 7th game of his freshman year, going into an environment where Death Valley, over 100,000 fans. And, Champ has got some good pedigree. His dad's a quarterback's coach who mentors with Lamar Jackson. They were showing photos of a young Champ working out with Lamar Jackson. But when you're going up against, like you said, these SEC athletes, and, Army has a certain game plan for probably Champ because it is his first start. They were really packing in their offense, right? And they were kind of running in between the tackles a lot with Kane Udo, which had some success here and there. But that what Champ's first start. We talked about Army not scoring again for the first back-to-back games for the first time since 2003. Let's talk about the 62-point deficit. It's the largest since 1972. And Johnny Rodgers, 77-7, Nebraska win over Army at Mikey Stadium. I mean, we'll leave that where it is. And I think I'm good for now. I'm going to go into a little bit of I'm going to get into a little bit of later on about my thoughts. But let's go to Seth real quick about the game.
The trivia question of the day is, which one of the three of us was at the Army Nebraska game? And the answer would be me. I'm a little bit older than you guys, as I brought up before, but I was at the Army Nebraska game, and it was the same feeling. I wasn't at this game, of course, but it was the same feeling of playing a team that is just so much better than the Army, that it got to be sad. Army scored at the very end. But I'll tell you this: 2 years later, or 1 year later, Army did not win a game. They went 0-10 or 0-11. I forget which one. And they got beat up by Cal and Penn State and Notre Dame. And the whole year was like this. Now, they scored some points, but they didn't score a lot of points. My feeling is LSU, like Steve said, the SEC is, with the exception of maybe Vanderbilt, the SEC is a great conference. Most of the teams are great year in and year out. There's always a couple of exceptions. We got LSU on a down year for them. They've lost 2 games, which is a lot for them at this point of the season. They're 5-2, or I think now 6-2. But we can't compete against them, and it was evident from the moment the game started, and it never changed. Give Kelly his due. He was putting in subs early in the third quarter. He left the starting team in there for the first half, it seemed like, but early in the third quarter he started putting in subs. At one point they showed him on the sideline. He looked like he was looking for somebody to put in. Who else can I get in? The cheerleaders, maybe. I don't mean to be sarcastic.
Stop, Seth. Stop.
I don't mean to be sarcastic. But he did seem to he didn't want to run up the score. That last touchdown was pretty much a mistake. I don't think they wanted to score. The guy got open. He ran through the line, and he was gone. Not going to tell a kid to fall down. We shouldn't be playing. West Point should not be playing at LSU, no matter how much money you're getting. Down there, in my opinion, it wasn't fair. And I felt the same thing. I was a little kid. I felt the same thing when they played Nebraska in 72 and those teams in 73. You couldn't compete. And those years, Army wasn't getting great players because the Vietnam War was coming to an end. It was very unpopular, and a lot of people didn't want to go to West Point. That's not the case now. So that's my take on it. We didn't have a chance. Whether you put the freshman quarterback in there, anybody, even with Daly. Could we have scored 1 touchdown maybe with Daly? I don't know, maybe. But it's a different league. It's a different level.
I think sorry to interrupt, Seth. I think the play that showed me that, okay, it's going to be a long day for Army is when they chased Daniels out of the pocket and he threw on a strike an 86-yard touchdown pass. I'm like, it looked like they had him contained. Something could have worked in Army's favor, and then boom, right down the field, 86 yards. I mean, a long day for the defense, a very long day for the offense. When you don't get the ball past an opponent's 28-yard line in a game, it's rough, man. It is rough. So now 2 weeks, 2 games, offense has ran 4 plays in the red zone in 2 games. Something's not right with this offense, and I'm sorry. Make adjustments. Do something. I know you're playing a high competition team in LSU, but when they even have their backups in the second half, do some. I don't know. I mean, do something. I know they got.
It's funny you say that. I played tennis this morning with a friend of mine who watched the game. He's a military guy, not West Point. He said the same thing you said. He said, "Boy, and he watches every game. He doesn't go. I don't think he goes up to the academy for games, but he watches every game. And he says there's no imagination to this offense, and you see it in the last 4 games. And LSU doesn't count in my mind. They're just too good.
Yeah.
You don't see any imagination. You don't."
Let me give you this, right? There was a stat earlier in the week about LSU having 62 plays of 20 yards or more leading the nation, right? Army did not have a play of over 20 yards in this game. The longest was 18, a kind of Udo run. The season, Army has 22 plays of over 20 yards, and 10 of them came against Delaware State. So they have 12 plays in 6 games versus FBS teams of 20 yards or more. I mean, something has to change. I mean, you got to do something here. I mean, it's the middle of the season. I get your game plan probably changed for LSU, and your game plan will probably be different in UMass. You'll put a play in here, a play in there. This offense is not beyond not good. I mean, I went on the Crawdads Countdown to Kickoff on Wednesday, their Wednesday show, and I was the dark cloud because they were trying to say, oh, there were some positives coming out of Troy. You had Kanye Udo with the 100-yard game, this and that. I'm like, this offense can't score. I mean, they can't even get in a position to score. And, there's no downfield threat. Isaiah Austin's out. I don't know. Noah Short's capable. I just don't know. I just don't know where you go.
I agree with you.
Steve, I don't know if you have any input, but I don't want to, just.
No, I mean, look, I think we're back at battling what we want to see out of an offense that is trying to figure out how it's going to perform this year. Like anytime you change offenses, this is kind of how it can happen. This is how it can work out. And I think we're seeing time and time again that it's not going to change.
I'm not saying go back to triple. I'm not saying go back to triple. I know it's not.
And I know what you guys are saying. Some imagination with what we've currently got. All right. And I understand that. But if we have to establish the base offense before we can get crazy with it, like if we're not executing, we don't even know if the guys are executing the offense correctly. Right? Yeah. We don't know if this is the first year any of us has seen this offense. And I know we've seen offensive like it. I know we've seen where the coach came from last year. And I know we know how the offense is supposed to be, but we don't even know if the guys are executing the offense properly. And if the guys aren't executing the offense properly, there's no point to upgrade to that next imaginative playbook, because the bigger picture here is we've got to execute every single time before we can go to that. And you know what? It's a hard lesson. And I'll tell you what, these are some gut punching games that we've had. I mean, I say I was part of the dark times. I was at the very end of the dark times. Like I feel like I peeked through and saw some light, but my first 2 years we were 3-9, and those and one of those wins each year came against a 1AA school. So we were, so we weren't very good. And we got shut out by Navy 34-0. So like we were not very good. And when we went to the triple option, it was rough the first year until we made some position changes. We figured out exactly how we were going to do it. And then we went 5-7, probably should have been 7-5, lost 2 games that we should have won. And then we won a bowl game. So look, this year's going to be rough. And I know it's tough to go through. This is the first time I'm going through it as a fan. Actually the year after, I left, we had a really tough year. But this is a tough year with this new offense, and we're just going to have to just see it through, guys.
To me, it's rock bottom right now for the offense. I mean, I'm just going to be this is rock bottom. You can't do much. And I mean, I'm just going to say this, and people might go the wrong way. I do not want to see Tyrell Robinson running in between the tackles on every one of his carries. I don't want to see that. There's nothing there. I mean, you keep on beating it down the middle. Can you toss him a ball outside?
I mean, the toss outside against an LSU defense probably didn't seem like it was going to be very good, just with how much speed they had. And look, we don't know because we didn't do very many of them, or if we did any at all. But I wrote this the other day, and on a forum, and I just said this, and I think we had someone comment about there's still a lot to play for the season. 7-5.
Yeah.
And a CIC. Okay. But James, I appreciate that comment because
I think we lost Steve.
Looks frozen.
Yeah, I think we lost Steve. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Steve, you broke up.
That doesn't usually happen on the Black Knight Nation podcast. So I think Steve. Oh, go ahead,
Steve, we lost you there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say is and James wrote a good comment. 7-5 CIC, and as far as 7-5 looks right now, a CIC never looks far because I don't care how good Air Force is this year. Those games are always close these days. Thank goodness. But what it's going to take is those seniors and some peer leadership to grab guys by the shoulder, like just put everybody's arm around each other and say, hey guys, like this is dark right now. And I know it's dark. And hey, that was not a good offensive game and that was not a good defensive game. But the only way we get better is if we hold each other accountable and go to work come Monday. And just and that's my concern is, are we at a point where, we are at rock bottom and we can't climb our way out of it? Are we just going to continue to, we're going to see what this leadership, there's a great leadership challenge, football wise, peer leadership wise, character wise, for these guys to go through. And I have full faith that the kind of character West Point and Army football creates, these guys are going to continue to fight and they're going to start holding each other accountable, and it'll get brighter. It just, I agree with you, Sal. Very, very low right now around the football locker room.
Well, let's be candid about this upcoming game against UMass. This is an important game. Just like when Army lost to Nebraska the following week, they went down to College Station and beat Texas A&M. This is what you have to hope for. I understand the Texas A&M coach.
Yeah, Seth, please don't make comparisons, please.
Well, but you have to hope that you bounce back. My point, Sal, is you have to bounce back. And
I mean, they had to bounce back after the Syracuse game. They had to bounce back against the Boston. This is now their 4 straight losses.
But we're not playing a team that is Syracuse and BC are in the ACC. LSU is a top 10, top 15 squad almost every year, if not better. A national champion in 2019. UMass is a 1-17 with 7 losses in a row. Some of those teams they played were not very good, but they lost. This is an important game for Army to reestablish itself. So the comment made by one of our viewers that Army could still go 7-5. Absolutely. Every game has to be handled separately. Okay. But you got to start with UMass, and they have to come out and show the world and show us, the 3 of us and all their fans and whoever else pays attention, that Army lost because they lost to a much better team, which they did in LSU. And they can play better, and against teams they should beat, like Delaware State, hopefully like UMass, they win. This is an important game for the Army football program, in my opinion.
Steve, it's an important game for the Anderson family.
Right.
Right. I got bragging rights on this game. Both my brothers graduated from UMass. One of them played in the 2005 national championship game against App State. So with Don Brown was his head coach back then. Don Brown's back after all these dark years at UMass to try to bring winning back. So the Texans are going to be flying. Coming. But I got to get out of here, guys. Hey,
yeah,
go Army, beat UMass, and let's rebound well.
Happier times next Sunday, hopefully for us.
Thanks, Steve. See you soon. So, the whole UMass game, right, Seth? You talked about it. Got to get it right, and the line is 8 points right now against UMass, a team that's 1-7, that's lost 7 in a row. Usually these Army UMass games are at least, in the teens when it comes to the spread, maybe even higher. And I'm not basing everything off a line or anything like that, but I'm telling you, if Army doesn't get its offense going in this game, my thinking is this: when the coin toss, right? It's random. I know if Army wins the coin toss, I know Jeff Monken loves to defer and play defense right away. I go to offense. I go to offense to start the game. I'm trying to set a tone here, and I got to get in the end zone. I got to do everything I can to get in the end zone on that first drive to take all the bad taste out of the mouths of the offense for the last 2 games. I got to get the offense on the field, whether it's Champ Harris, whether it's Larry Robinson, whether it's Bryson Daly comes back. Get in the end zone. I don't know whether you run a play under center, for heaven's sakes. Whether you run one play under center and go back to the triple option for one play or whatever, or you bring in Jacoby Buchanan and just pound the football. Do something.
I agree. Every game for the rest of the season is winnable. And I think it's important that Army has to show itself, like you just said, has to show what it's made of. I think this is not only important for the season; it's important for the program because right now the program is down. I'm going to say it one more time: 72 team finished 6-4 after that opening day loss to Nebraska. So they bounced back. They lost a couple of games to some really good teams. They beat some decent teams that year. It's true. They beat Air Force. That was the last time they beat a ranked team.
So I appreciate your knowledge of Army football. I really do, in the history of Army football, but it's hard for me to relate in 2023 to 1972. It really is. It's just a different brand of football. It's just a different brand of football.
It's the same thing to win this game and win this game to substantially win this game, because this is a very important game. Listen, you got Air Force the week after. These kids have to get their momentum back, their mojo back. And this is a very important game. I think Army will win the game. I do. And I actually think, when I come for prediction time on Friday for you, I think they're going to win the game decisively, because I think they're a better team than UMass. I almost look at this LSU game. I know that one of our listeners said, that this is important to play this game. It's a game that they look up to. It's a challenge. I'm not sure we want to play them. I think I think we have to go and find teams that we have a chance against. We had no chance playing LSU down there. I know Oklahoma we almost beat. I know we almost beat Michigan. I didn't watch the Oklahoma game. It wasn't on TV, remember? But the Michigan game I watched. I watched the Penn State game where they only lost by a touchdown or so. They even looked decent against Ohio State, even though they lost by 2.5 touchdowns.
Decent first half.
Yeah, okay. But the bottom line is that the challenge game should be a Syracuse or a BC or or Wake Forest or a Duke or something like that. I know they're going for the money. They need the money for the program. I get that. That's great. And LSU wanted us to come down. It was a big deal for them to host Army. But, geez, I don't know. There's a different type of player playing there. And Monken said this. He said this in his press. Give the guy credit. He said in the press conference on Tuesday, and he said it after the game yesterday. This is a different level of team. He said at one point he made a comment. It was a great comment by him, and I didn't use it in the story. And the comment was, none of the kids at West Point had the opportunity to go to LSU. LSU had no interest.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's what he said.
Connor Finucane was that. Did LSU officially offer Connor Finucane? No, but they were recruiting Connor
That's what
Finucane.
Monken said. That's what he said.
But
Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's what he said. That's what he
yeah.
said. There was nobody that LSU recruited or tried to recruit to go to West Point. I went to West Point. Whatever it is, okay, maybe it's not true, but that's what he said.
It's Coach Seth. With all due respect, it's Coach speak. With all due respect, it's Coach speak. I'm telling you, I've heard that quote many a times. It's Coach speak. I mean, I get it. LSU has superior talent. LSU's talent is 99 to 100. Army's talent is, on a good day.
So, Sal, can we agree on the fact that we're playing UMass? Let's turn our attention to Saturday, 5 days from now.
Real quick, before you go there, I want to just say if there's any positive from this game that you can come up with is another 100-yard game for freshman Kanye Udo. Now, I'm going to drop a stat here. I put it up on Instagram. It's the first 100 back-to-back 100-yard rushing games since Mike Mayweather in 1987 for Army.
I knew you were going to say Mike Mayweather. I knew you were going to say what a great running back.
Well, I thought it was somebody else. I thought it was C.J. Young in 2000 or 2001, but C.J. Young was a sophomore. So, no, it's Mike Mayweather in 1987. Mike Mayweather had 3 100-yard games his freshman year. So we'll see if they continue to go to Now, the one thing I think we should give Kanye Udo his due and how he's been running the football in the last 2 games and how he's been running very physically, breaking tackles, running in between tackles, pushing the pile, getting extra yardage after contact. I think it's important to note that because he's been the bright spot in these last 2 games on offense. And I don't think we should go without talking about him. I knew about him coming out of St. Augustine Prep. I did, following recruiting. I think he was a later commit his senior year, and he talked about how Brady Small, who's the starting center for Army, another freshman, kind of talked to him. Brady was already committed to West Point, and he talked to him a little bit about West Point, and they got Kanye to prep school, and now they worked out together. They practiced, after practice together, and Kanye's having a good freshman year, and some people might, like me personally, right? I think Kanye Udo's done really well. There's just not enough snaps in that backfield when you're only running one back, right? Because I'm thinking the last couple games he's having 100-yard games. Where is Markel Johnson? Markel Johnson hasn't carried the ball. He had a really good game against UTSA, right? Markel Johnson, and we haven't seen much of him at all. And I get it. There's only a couple, there's only so many snaps. And when you got a running back hot, you're going to use them. Monken said right during the press conference, from what I heard, Monken said he thought Kanye was going to break a couple of those runs for bigger runs, or maybe even a touchdown. Who knows? He was waiting for him to break them because I guess they were trying to tire down the LSU interior with those running plays. And just wanted to give him a credit. I will say this game, the offense and the defense, but I mean, was it really a turning point? Not really, but Army had a chance to get, they 3 and out on LSU's second series, right? So you're thinking, all right, they're going to hang around a little bit. And I think they had a chance to pick off Jaden Daniels. Cam O'Gara had a chance to pick off Jaden Daniels. That would have been probably a pretty good play, and just didn't bring it in. Sometimes in these games, you got to make those plays. I mean, you think of the Syracuse game with Cam Jones and that pick 6 that could have happened that didn't, So, I mean, when the defense is on when the offense is not scoring points and it's moving the ball here nor there, those turnovers would certainly help. So let's see if they can get some against UMass. I mean, they should be able to, that they should be able to create some takeaways against UMass. You think they're playing at home? I think the weather forecast, Seth, is sunny on Saturday.
Looking forward.
No rain, so it should be a game where we'll see. I mean, there's no excuses for slipping of the ball. I mean, we haven't talked about this, but my God, the turnovers for Army are outrageous this year. They're just, I mean, it's not really a characteristic of a good Army team. How many times the ball's been on the ground, how many times the ball is intercepted, and granted, they're throwing more, right? But, I mean, Seth, I just get this out of my system a little bit more. At one point during this game, they were 5 of 12 passing for 29 yards and 2 interceptions. I mean, got to do something. I mean, got to do it differently. Got to. I mean, you just it's that's a bad high school team stat. That is a bad high school team stat. That passing statistic.
But that's my point. And I think that Steve alluded to it also, and I bet you agree also. We have this new offense. I know we're only 7 games into it. I understand that, but I don't see anything that makes this offense better than what we had. I'm not saying to go back. You can't go back now, but I don't see anything, and I'm shocked by that. And this week, I got to see something. The Delaware State doesn't count. UTSA, we did pretty good against. Okay. But since then, I don't see anything that makes me sit there and say, okay, we're working to get better. And this week against UMass, we got Air Force next week. This week against UMass, I expect to go out there. I want to see, we're better. West Point is better than UMass. They're a better team. They're an 8-point favorite. I agree with it. Should probably be 15 points, but they're 8-point favorite. Those guys know better than I do. I want to see when I at that game on Saturday. I want to see some pizzazz because I haven't seen
pizzazz. That. What was exactly his pizzazz?
I don't know. Pitch the ball outside more. Pitch the ball. I mean, whatever it might take. But running up the middle doesn't do it for me. And I get LSU. Take that out. I'm not even talking about this game. Let's see what they do against UMass, because this is a must-win game for the West Point football program, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We have a comment from James Charles saying 5 to 7 games were against legit teams during this transition. They very well could be 4-3. Leadership completely understands and are holding everyone accountable, including themselves. We are going on a run. Well, we hope that Saturday is the start of a run. I mean, they certainly need something to hold their hat on. I mean, you're 2-5. I mean, you guys brought up, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want any part of it last week when you guys brought up 2-10. But I mean, it's not going to get to there, but you got to stop the bleeding on Saturday against the Minutemen. I know like Don Brown's back and Don Brown's a great defensive mind, but yeah, you got to find ways. You got to create a big play somehow. I mean, like I said, when you don't have any plays of 20 yards or more in a game, and you only have 12 all season against FBS competition in 6 games, your offense is not working. I mean, this is not your triple option grinded out offense. This is not your moving the chains offense. This gun option is supposed to create some bigger plays, and it is not doing that. And Hey, let's get.
Is it possible? You're not going to like to hear this. Is it possible that the offense needs a more talented set of players? We don't know the answer to that yet, but it's
well, I think that I don't know if it's offense talented. I'm not sure. I mean, I will have to say, let's get to this comment real quick. And by Aaron Scott, offensively, we have to let them learn and continue to adjust. Going into week 8. I said this on the Crawdads Countdown, the kickoff show, radio show on Wednesday. It's an excuse. You've had the, spring. You've had the preseason. You've had now 7 games. Letting them learn and continue to adjust should have happened in Louisiana Monroe, Delaware State, those type of games. I mean, now you're in the heart of the thick of the schedule. You don't have that time. That's for practices, man. That's not for games. The learning is not for games. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, Aaron. You have your opinion. I have my opinion, Aaron. And so I'm just stating my opinion. I just think that, the time to learn and adjust. I mean, and I'll tell you what, I thought Champ Harris would like that environment, of course, with the 100K fans at LSU is a lot to take in. I thought he kind of handled it okay. I mean, I thought he had command of the offense. He's looking at the defense. He's reading the plays. He's checking down, or he's talking to his other offensive skill players and offensive line. He was all right in that department. He just needed, I guess he needed a little help, And Neil, you say do they need better players, right? Seth, do they need better players in this offense? Well, first of all, I think that, and people might not want to hear this, but the offensive line's got to play better. They got to play better. I mean, they got the blocking's got to be better. We've heard it all year long, right? Sustaining the blocks from, all 10 players, right? Well, all 9 players without the football, I guess, minus the quarterback. Everybody, all 11 have to be on the same page in this offense as far as even blocking schemes and blocking people and getting. Connor Finucane said what? I think last week he said 11 hats on 11 hats or something like that, or 10 hats on 10 hats. They have to be better blocking, and Connor Finucane can probably coach an offensive line in college right now. He's that smart where he knows schemes well and stuff. So the blocking, I know they've been rotating guys in. David Hoyt got a little banged up. Who they were missing. Well, Shane Buckingham got the start, I think, on against LSU. I think Hoyt was banged up. Yeah, they mixed it up a little bit on the offensive line once the game got out of hand, trying to find the right combinations and stuff like that. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking of like old NFL teams when you run behind your strongest guys, right? And you move the football and stuff like that. That's what I guess you don't do that in an RPO offense or anything like that. I don't know. I mean,
well, again, we'll see what happens this week, and we see if they rebound, and we see what the offensive coordinator and Monk can come up with to make a couple of twists against UMass, which is a winnable game. We should win. Army should win, and then you got to get ready also for the CIC, the first one against a very good 7-0 Air Force team. That's ranked 19th in the country.
Yeah.
In Denver.
Yeah, I watched that Air Force Navy game, and I mean, I know it's a CIC game, so you know each other well, and you probably practice all year long for those games. And Air Force did what it needed to do to win. I mean, were they great? No. I mean, can Army play Air Force as close as Navy did? And we'll see if that what happens this week. I mean, I think they have the capabilities on defense to do that. We'll see. They'll have to have a counterpunch on offense. That's a couple weeks down the road, but you look at their schedule, right? And you have UMass, Air Force, then Holy Cross, and then Coastal Carolina. And Coastal Carolina's quarterback Grayson McCall suffered. I mean, he left the game on a stretcher last night. For a wicked hit when he was sliding and got hit while he was sliding. So I don't know. It's about a month away, so we'll see what his status is, but. I mean, we'll see what they can do at home. They have 3 of those 4 games at home, right? And I think if you want to turn this thing in the right direction, you pretty much need all 4 of those home games. So, you have to get the home cooking going, and you have to hope that, the Air Force game comes down to like the fourth quarter, which it has in the last forever under Jeff Monken, pretty much, minus that 21-0 game where they were at Air Force and shut them out. We'll see. We'll see what the talent is.
Anything can happen. And the remaining 5 games, anything can happen. And Army's not, I mean, Air Force is the best of those 5 teams. But yeah, I mean, Army could finish 7-5. They could finish 6-6. I don't see him finishing 2-10, but 3-9 is possible. Anything can happen there. So again, we'll see what happens. Let's start off with UMass, see what happens with them. 1-7 team, Army 2-5. Not much difference.
Wow.
But I'm excited for the game. I'm excited for this game.
Didn't see that happening, but that's where we are right now. So the Black Knights have dropped 4 in a row, 62-0. We went through all the numbers and the historic defeat by Army last night. Let's hope they can bounce back. If you're watching right now, we really appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on. People commenting, and we're answering your questions. Check out BlackKnightNation.com. Seth Mendelson's game stories up there. We have a photo gallery by Margaret Kite, who was at the game for us in Death Valley. She took some really good pictures. Check out the photo gallery. I'm gonna write I guess I'll write a quick thoughts on it from the game. Probably a lot of what I talked about here. Seth, you'll probably have coverage of the Tuesday press conference with Jeff Monken. And just give us a follow, subscribe, give us a thumbs up here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. subscribe to our follow us on Instagram and all the social medias. We really appreciate your support here and your interest in Army football. Let's go to a couple quick comments before we get off here. We got 3-9, Seth. No way, bud.
I didn't say that. I said that's the worst case scenario. I think Army could finish very easily. Could finish 6-6.
And we got Aaron Scott. Thanks, Aaron, we really appreciate your comments tonight and your opinions. Cheers, fellas. Thanks for doing this. We'll do this next Sunday, and hopefully we'll have a bet. Who knows? Maybe we'll be in a happy, a joyous mood, and we'll do it Saturday night after an Army win. We'll see what the Black Knights do against the Minutemen. A noon kick at Mikey Stadium, so we'll check out our coverage. I'll definitely be up there with some pre-games and all that kind of fun stuff. Thanks for watching tonight, Seth. Thank you. We thank Steve Anderson, and for now, Black Knight Nation is out.